So an introduction to pain science. While the science of pain can be very complicated, my personal mission is to make pain relief and pain education simple. Pain is a multiple system output activated by the brain based on perceived threat. So this is one of the most updated descriptions that's being used in the pain science world right now in regards to pain. So I want to read that one more time. Pain is a multiple system output activated by the brain based on perceived threat. So one of the things that you're going to see going forward is that there can be times in your body that you're experiencing pain, not because anything is actually happening within the tissues, but because your brain is perceiving that there's trauma or that there's something going on. I can tell you, you are not crazy. Your pain is 100% real, and so many people have been thrown to the back of the bus, or they have been led to believe that the pain that they're experiencing is imaginary, and it's just really sad to see how many people are suffering from pain that they're experiencing, yet they go get all these images and these MRIs, and they have all of these different things that are done, and all because they can't find something on the imaging, they believe that there's something wrong with them. I can't tell you how many relationships and marriages have been destroyed because a person looks totally healthy and normal, but that person is undergoing and experiencing so much severe pain that their spouse just doesn't really understand or relate, and it can truly end relationships and marriages. And so you're not crazy, but we might need to make some different updates and some understandings about what might actually be going on within your brain. And as we said before, pain affects everything. Pain affects your ability to be out and about and interacting and hiking and going out into the community. Pain affects your finances, the money that you're having to spend to try to manage your pain, and the thousands and thousands of dollars every year that go towards pain treatments and medications and surgeries and procedures. Your ability to work is drastically affected. Your productivity. There are so many people that are afraid to admit that they have pain going on because if they miss too much work, they're going to get fired from their job. So that increases those stress and state levels. And as we've said before, pain in relationships. It really can be a destroying aspect in regards to relationships. So, sore and achy muscles. One of the things that can happen when people are experiencing sore and achy muscles is that they might not be having any kind of trauma to the tissue, but there's blood flow changes and a person is having decreased oxygenation within that area. And again, if the brain perceives that that's a danger signal enough and it's worried about what's going on in that area, it can send pain messages. So sore and achy muscles might not mean that you have anything significant going on, but it changes the blood flow, and that decreased oxygenation can have a huge impact. It can have a huge effect on your mood swings. I mean, we've all seen it, we've all personally experienced it, where we've had some kind of a pain event in our life where it changes who we are and how we're acting and how we're behaving. We see huge mood swings in people suffering from chronic pain. They have major stress and anxiety, they have a ton of fear about the movements that they can't do or the activities that they can no longer do. So this really is a big piece of the mood swing element for people who are having consistent and chronic pain. Weight gain is a very common issue for people that are experiencing pain. A few things happen here. When the brain is experiencing chronic pain, pain affects every region of the body. It used to be thought that pain went to a specific spot within the brain and that spot was the pain area. We now know that when a person is experiencing pain, especially chronic pain, it affects and it activates every aspect of the brain, and it incorporates all parts of the brain. And when the hypothalamus is affected, it can actually shift and transition the regulation system that gives you the ability to feel whether you're full or not. So if that gets disrupted, you end up eating more end up eating more food because the system that would have said, nope, we've had enough, is no longer working. You eat more food than what you actually would be intending to eat, and you gain weight that way. Another piece is that weight gain comes because you have less movement overall. The truth is, when people are experiencing pain, the last thing that they want to do is go out and get movement and be active, especially organized, focused movement for working out and exercising. Weight loss can be a huge piece for people who are experiencing chronic pain as well. And what's so interesting is that we are so unique with how our bodies respond to pain that while some people might gain 20, 30, maybe even 50 pounds, another person might lose 20, 30, or 50 pounds because they're in extreme pain. How much energy the brain is activated, as the brain is more activated and more parts of the brain are working over time, the brain actually uses a large percent of your total caloric burning in a day to function. Another piece that happens is that there's changes in the hypothalamus, which can change your taste and your ability to really be interested in food. So we see some people who actually stop eating food because food is really kind of bland and it doesn't have a good taste anymore, so they just stop eating, and or their pain levels might be so severe that they just don't even think about eating. So a person can have weight gain or weight loss when they're dealing with chronic pain. Another element to pain is that our nerves get turned up. The amplification for their sensitivity starts to go up. And this is something that's a huge element to chronic pain patients. It actually changes the neuroplasticity within your body and how your nerves are sensing and responding to things. And think about it. If you have a headache and your kids or your friends or your coworkers are being extra loud, how much more sensitive you are to certain things that normally would never bug you, but because your nerves are in a state of heightened sensitivity, it can be very aggravating for you and your system. Sleep disruption is a huge piece to the chronic pain cycle. And unfortunately, as your sleep cycle has shifted, sleep is one of the most important elements in being able to help you recover from chronic pain issues. But as areas of the brain that are supposed to be focused on helping you sleep, they're now processing pain signals. So those parts of the brain are no longer working appropriately, and you end up staying awake, you end up stressing more about all of the different things that are going on, and then the more you stress about that, the more that amplifies, and it's the snowball for getting worse. Posture and movement issues. Now, there's some research studies that are coming out that are saying your posture has no impact on whether you're experiencing pain or not, but the truth is that when you're experiencing pain, you have certain muscles and your certain fascial layers and connective tissues that start contracting and changing your position to try to find a more comfortable state. Another thing that happens when we go into the sympathetic nervous system is that when our body goes into fight or flight, it actually changes how the blood is being distributed throughout your body. So the big, bulky, large muscles that would be used to help you run, jump, and flee away from pain or to fight someone off if you're being attacked need extra blood. So it pulls blood away from the more intrinsic core layering of your musculature, and some of these major postural muscles that they think are weak are not actually weak from a strengthening perspective. They're just not getting the amount of blood flow that they need to be able to function appropriately. So it could be very common for a person to go to a movement educator or a personal trainer or a physical therapist, and they assess them and they say, oh, hey, this muscle's weak or that's not working. And that might not be true because the muscle's actually weak. It could just not be getting the blood flow it needs, and then that trainer or that physical therapist is working them harder than really what they can tolerate, and we create a whole slew of other issues for those patients. The digestive system. This is one of the most important aspects to this whole pain process. What we now know about immunity and functionality within the body is that if the gut isn't working appropriately, almost nothing else in your body can function and be healthy. So when you have less blood supply going to your digestive tract because you're in sympathetic nervous system all the time, then your ability to process the food and digest the food, and your ability to absorb the food and the nutrients that you actually need is diminished because you don't have the blood flow in your digestive organs to be able to have them work appropriately. So being able to get a person out of sympathetic nervous system has a huge impact on how healthy they're going to be overall, because they just need to get that digestive tract working. And here's another really interesting piece to this. One of the things that happens is that when people are stressed out or they're having a hard time, when they eat, it actually can help kick them into the parasympathetic nervous system because there's this tug of war. So when the gut starts to get extra, it gets food in it and it's trying to digest, then it tries to flip the brain back into parasympathetic nervous system to try to digest the food. And so what a lot of people end up doing, again, as we talked about the food issues, is that they're overeating, but now maybe the digestive tract isn't getting the amount of blood flow that it needs, and so they have all sorts of GI tract issues, and they're trying to compensate with more food, and it's just never going to be a successful process. Fatigue is one of the most commonly reported effects when people are experiencing pain. In my years of working with thousands of patients from all over the world, what we found is that the #1 reported issue after the person's reported pain is that they are just exhausted. Pain is physically exhausting to deal with. Your mind, your body, all of the fibers of your being are trying to deal with and address and manage these chronic pain issues. So being able to help people address this, not only from a stress perspective, but the extra brain activity that is going on because now more parts of your brain are firing that are not supposed to be working because the pain issue is happening, can lead to a significant amount of low energy.